Vo, and for my project, I decided that I'll be talking about Kingdom Hearts. More specifically, its history, its gameplay aspects, and what inspired it for the project. So, this will be Kingdom Hearts Magic in the Making. So, before we kind of dive down into the gameplay aspects, we should ask the question, what is Kingdom Hearts? Well, Kingdom Hearts is a Square Enix and Disney associated game created by Tetsuya Nomura. Um, and Tetsuya Nomura was born in 1970. He's still alive. He is currently 53 years old. He's a Japanese video game designer, producer, and artist that works for Square Enix. He was known for creating Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, Final Fantasy VII, the remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, The World Ends With You, The Bouncer, and many more Final Fantasy games to come. He was also known for creating the most iconic video game characters in the Final Fantasy universe, Cloud Strife and Sephiroth, and most importantly, he was known for creating Kingdom Hearts. The game was also co-created by Shinji Hashimoto. Shinji Hashimoto was born in 1958. He was 66 years old, a former game producer at Square Enix. He was known for producing Final Fantasy VII and other Final Fantasy games that came before and after, but most importantly, he was known for co-creating Kingdom Hearts with Tetsuya Nomura. So now that we've gotten a bit of insight on who created these games, let's talk about what the franchise is all about. So Kingdom Hearts is a series of RPG games created by, Tetsuya Nomura and Shinji Hashimoto, and it was published by Square Enix. It is a collaboration between Square Enix and the Walt Disney Company. The game depicts of a heroine boy named Sora, a Keyblade wielder, as he and iconic Disney characters, Donald and Goofy, travel through different Disney worlds to stop heartless invasions. So, how did the creation of Kingdom Hearts came to be? So, this all started when Shinji Hashimoto and a Disney executive were in the same elevator, which led to the proposal of a Mickey RPG style game by the Disney executive. And at that time, the executive were suggesting that that kind of Mickey RPG style game would kind of be similar to how a Final Fantasy game would be played out due to the massive popularity of Final Fantasy back in the 90s. So after this conversation kind of stroke in the elevator, it wasn't until the corporation Disney contacted Square Enix about this one idea, and they approached them about like, hey, how about we kind of make this idea come to life? And Tetsuya Nomura was given the role as the director producer. He was practically kind of like the one that was looking over the project of this upcoming Disney X Square Enix game. And because of this, Nomura kind of pushed down the idea of a Mickey RPG style game and rather more of like a Disney-like game, meaning that this game should have countless worlds of Disney characters and movies, not just Mickey, as they embark on countless adventures with Final Fantasy elements, because Nomura believed that because his past projects were Final Fantasy games, due to the amount of Final Fantasy games that were pushed out in the 90s, he believed that using like a Final Fantasy structure in terms of story and gameplay could help progress through this game that they were developing. And this game would eventually become Kingdom Hearts. So let's take a look at its history. So Kingdom Hearts 1 finally finished development, and it was eventually released in 2002 for the PlayStation 2. This game was massively successful. It won the hearts of many adults, gamers, and kids. And because of its success, Disney was able to pitch in the idea of Kingdom Hearts 2. And this is where they got to work for the second game. And 3 years later, Kingdom Hearts 2 was released in 2005 for the PlayStation 2. And it wasn't until 14 years later, you heard it, 14 years later, until Kingdom Hearts 3 would release on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So this was a very huge gap for Kingdom Hearts 3 um, between the second and the third game. The reason is because after Kingdom Hearts 2 concluded, they were able to release many spin-off Kingdom Hearts games. And when I say spin-off, they're technically spin-off in terms of gameplay. They play a lot differently to previous Kingdom Hearts games. But in terms of story-wise, they were kind of meant to be played to understand the story before getting to the third game. So they kind of shipped out a lot of those games before the third game came out. And then once they kind of thought to themselves, hey, um, I think this is enough games. I think we're ready to kind of release this third installment of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. That's when it came to be. So, history aside, one of the main aspects of Kingdom Hearts was its combat, and I think it's important to look at its history and see what kind of inspired it. So, um, as I mentioned before, this game was produced and made by Square Enix, and because it was made by Square Enix, they were able to take a lot of elements from Final Fantasy to and translate it to Kingdom Hearts. So, if you look at the first image on top, this is Final Fantasy VII in 1997. They have a command board, and as you can see here, they give you four options for a character. So attack, magic, skill, item. If you look at the image below it, this is the Kingdom Hearts, specifically one, but but they're pretty similar in terms of the other Kingdom Hearts games. So this is the Kingdom Hearts 1 command board. And as you can see here, it also has attack, magic, item, with the exception of summon, which we'll get into later. And as you can see here, Final Fantasy was kind of like the main aspect when it comes to building Kingdom Hearts' combat. Kingdom Hearts is known for a lot of the Final Fantasy elements into the game, and because the creator Nomura wanted to add kind of like the Final Fantasy elements into this upcoming project, this is what they meant by Final Fantasy. So you can see that they have attack, magic, items. Not to mention, they also brought magic, and um, one representation I could find is from Final Fantasy VIII, which was released in 1999. And you can see here, there's Kuraga, and if you look at the magic system in Kingdom Hearts, they have Kira, which there is Kuraga, but this is just kind of like the pre-updated version of Kuraga, so the one before it. So they're technically the same thing. And there is Asuna. It's not in here, but it would soon be added into the future Kingdom Hearts games. Same for Dispel. So as you can see here, most of the magic that was in Kingdom Hearts or is in Kingdom Hearts were all from Final Fantasy. So you have Fyra, Blizzara, Thundara, Kira, Gravira, Stopra, Aurora. They all came from the Final Fantasy magic system. And because Final Fantasy had many games, you can see here, they were already on their 8th game in 1999. They were able to grab a lot of sources and elements from the previous Final Fantasy games, so they were able to get very creative on what magic spells they could bring, how the system works. The only difference from Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy was that it was real-time combat. So besides the command board, Kingdom Hearts had a real-time combat, meaning it was all action-paced. The players get to roam freely around the arena, the area, they got to explore. It was all at the player's fingertip, they had so much more freedom. Unlike Final Fantasy, it was all turn-based. But Kingdom Hearts was able to translate that turn-based system in the command board into something that you use in kind of more of an action-packed real-time combat. And that is what made Kingdom Hearts stand out from Final Fantasy. But in a way, Final Fantasy did completely inspired what Kingdom Hearts was made to be in terms of combat. So, one of the most special aspects of Kingdom Hearts is its summons. And the reason why is because in Kingdom Hearts, you're able to summon Disney-like characters that can change the way that you play in combat. So, for example, in Kingdom Hearts, you can summon Simba. Um, he can do an AoE attack. So situationally, this will be very handy when you do need Simba. You can summon Chicken Little, and Chicken Little is used as kind of like a shooter attack. So he's meant to kind of lock down on enemies that are flying, in which players cannot really reach. Or you can summon Ariel if you want to attack enemies that are above and below. So she's very AoE from high ground to low ground. So that's what she was made for. And these summons specifically made the game very special because they kind of shaped the way that the players choose to how they play in combats. And because of summons, it was heavily inspired by, you know it, Final Fantasy. So Nomura was not joking when he said he was going to grab a lot of elements from the Final Fantasy games, because those were the projects that he was working on that he was very proud of. So in the summons, or in Final Fantasy, I mean, they have summons. Each game had like a different name, so they had Eidolons, Aeons, Espers, Guardian Forces, etc. But they kind of worked just like what Kingdom Hearts did. So whenever you use these summons, you're able to shape the way that combat kind of works, and also changes how the output of combat, it's meant to be used situationally, because because summons are very powerful. And I think that that kind of fantasy that Square Enix wanted to use from Final Fantasy should be also put into Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts, you cannot really use these all the time. So because of that, they try to make them as powerful but as balanced as they could be. And thanks to what Final Fantasy offered for summons, Kingdom Hearts was able to hold that into their system as well. And thankfully, it was able to stand out for its own franchise. So in Kingdom Hearts, they also have something called abilities. And what makes this really special is that with abilities, it's more than just leveling up and getting your abilities. At the start of the game, you're given 3 paths to choose. And instead of asking you, like, do you prefer to win more battles? Do you prefer to die less frequently? They ask you more personally about yourself. And they don't really tell you what you get out of picking these 3 paths. So if you pick the sword, then you have invincible courage. You are a warrior. If you pick the magic wand or rod, then you prefer using magic. You want to bring wonders in imagination. And if you pick the shield, you prefer to be a knight in shining armor. You want to protect your friends. You always want to be there for someone. And these kind of questions are kind of what makes the game much more immersive, because they're not asking the character Sora what he wants. They're asking, what do you want out of this adventure? And after you pick these 3 weapons, they determine what abilities you get first from leveling up. So for example, if you pick the sword, you get Sliding Dash, which is used to lock down enemies that are far away from you. If you pick the rod, you get Stun Impact, which makes it so you can stun enemies, leaving them immobilized and making it easier for you to land your hits. Dream Shield gives you Slapshot, which gives you more combo potential. So as you can see here, these abilities do determine what path you picked, and that's what makes your whole run much more diverse than any other players. And as you can see here, these are from all the 3 games, so 1, 2, and 3. They have ability lists, and with these ability lists, once you get an ability, you can choose to equip whatever one you want at a cost of ability points. And these ability points are made to kind of limit the players on how many abilities they can equip. So for example, let's say you unlocked Sonic Blade, right? But you have a choice between, let's say, just Berserk, for instance. Let's pretend Berserk costed 3 ability points. Then you have to choose between one or the other depending on what combat conditions that you're going to be facing. And this allows the player to kind of craft their strategies, so you're not just always like running it down with the same abilities. It's kind of like every battle you're always faced with different outcomes. So it's important that you kind of change the input of your abilities in order to face kind of like the good outcome of the fight. And in addition, if you think of Pokemon, so those of you who are very familiar with Pokemon, once your Pokemon levels up, they do learn new abilities. And if your Pokemon has 4 or roughly 5 abilities equipped to the max, then they either have a choice to get rid of the new ability they got or to replace it with another. And this is kind of like the same system that Square Enix wanted to put with Kingdom Hearts. In Kingdom Hearts, um, you learn a new ability, but that doesn't mean you're able to equip it right away. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices and get rid of some abilities that you may not need for that type of battle. And this carried on for all Kingdom Hearts games, and I think it was very translated very well. Um, and yes, I believe that the Pokemon game also had a huge impact on how the ability points do work in Kingdom Hearts. Alrighty, so what's combat without stats, right? What's combat without a health bar? So in every Kingdom Hearts game, you have a health bar, which is indicated with the green bar, and this is kind of like what determines how you live and how you die. Um, and then, as for the blue bar, inspired by Final Fantasy III, Kingdom Hearts introduces the MP bar, which is the blue bar that works as a mana pool, and it deducts every time Sora uses a magic spell. These magic spells can cost differently depending on how effective they are, but either way, they will still deduct the points no matter what magic spell you use. In addition, Kingdom Hearts 2, which is this icon right here, if you can see my mouse, Kingdom Hearts 2 introduces the drive bar, which is the orange bar that allows Sora to transform to a new form, granting him new ability and deducts the bars over time. So this drive bar is meant to be used as a way for Sora to unlock his full potential in a situational event. Let's say you're low health, you can transform. They give you the opportunity to transform to a new form, and with this new form, you get much more stronger. You get back to full health, and it's kind of made to be used as kind of like a satisfying way. It's kind of like you've reached your full potential. You're getting stronger now, and that's kind of what the drive gauge is meant for. But just know that you are limited. It does deduct over time whenever you're in the drive form, and you're gonna have to replenish it once it runs out. In Kingdom Hearts 3, the drive bar was replaced with the focus bar, which is still orange, and it allows Sora to aim at multiple enemies and perform a special attack depending on the Keyblade he has equipped. Alternatively, he can slingshot to the enemies as well. So, yeah, this was likely changed due to kind of the enemies that were introduced in Kingdom Hearts 3. They were much more distant enemies. There were enemies that kind of had like a disadvantage towards ranged effects, and also the fact that Sora can slingshot is much more effective towards enemies that are always dashing away. Either way, I think both Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 did a really great job on how they added these orange bars, because either way, these games had diversity. As you can tell, Kingdom Hearts 2 had their drive bar, Kingdom Hearts 3 had their focus bar, and they play a lot differently, but in a way that it doesn't deny the Kingdom Hearts fantasy. Alrighty, so I think it's important that Magic has its own section because Magic plays a huge role in the Kingdom Hearts combat, and not to mention this has went through a lot of changes, and I believe it's really important to talk about its history because, like I mentioned before, the Magic system did come from Final Fantasy. Alrighty, so before I get started with the spells, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the background of the spells. So, since this game was released in 2002, many shooter games of the time, such as Devil May Cry and Resident Evil, influenced Square Enix to create their version of the gun system through magic. And you can tell that because at that time, many FPS shooter games, they were very immersive, and that's why they had much more success, like Doom, for example. And they were unable to do that with Final Fantasy because in Final Fantasy, it was much more turn-based, which means you can't really have the first-person shooter experience. And in addition, Nomura did promise he wanted to add all the as much Final Fantasy elements as he can into this Kingdom Hearts game. And because of that, he was able to translate it very well with this action-packed combat system. So I'm gonna only mention the spells that made their returns throughout all the three games because they're the ones that have gotten the most changes, and I think they all deserve an analysis since they're kind of like the main kit of the magic system in Kingdom Hearts. So I'm gonna get started with fire. So fire um, is a fire spell, and it works just like an assault rifle. So so if you look at this video I'm playing right here, the fire system was meant to shoot at far ranged enemies and lock them down. So this was very beneficial if, let's say, you're at far range or unable to reach the enemies in time. Shooting the fire can help you, can help benefit you for the combat that you're in. And I also forgot to mention that the spells in the game were meant to be used as kind of like the gun system. So that's why. So the fire system was like a assault rifle, and now we can get to Blizzard, which is more of a shotgun or shotgun spread. So the Blizzard is a close range magic system or spell that shoots kind of like shotgun pellets with the design of icicles, and they deal much more damage if the enemies are closer. And I believe that's the philosophy that they were going for with this spell. They want a spell that works like a close range gun, which is like a shotgun, and that is I believe that is what Nomura intended for the design of Blizzard in this game. In addition, because Final Fantasy had Thunder, it wouldn't be a surprise for them to bring Thunder into this game. And Thunder was more of an AoE spell. It locked down enemies surrounding Sora or the player themselves, and it did tons of damage. You could say that this spell acted out like a grenade. So a grenade kind of like explodes around it, and I think Sora was kind of like the grenade itself, like kind of exploding and dealing AoE damage around the enemies, and that is what the design aspects of Kingdom Hearts was made for. In the first game, it's kind of like a gun system, so Fire is a assault rifle, Blizzard was a shotgun spread, and Thunder was like a grenade. Alrighty, so in Kingdom Hearts 2, most of the spells got reworked in this game. So the introduction of Kingdom Hearts 2 left most of the spells reworked. And the reason why is because in Kingdom Hearts 2, their main goal with the combat is to make it much more combo based, meaning that they want the players to use Sora as a way to make combos through his physical attacks, whether that's in the air or ground, since in Kingdom Hearts 1, most of his fighting skills came from magic and attack to the point where they both do a lot of damage combined. But with this game, they want this game to revolve around like doing so much more combos and less about using your magic to end the fight. It's used to balance it instead through combos. And that's what their main goal is in this game, which is to revolve around combos. So let's look at Fire, which is the first image right here. So with Fire, it's now close range, so completely opposite from what the first game had. And instead of doing huge damage, it did a lot less damage, but at the cost, it now juggles enemies. So this is very beneficial for players that would love to do air combos. So for instance, let's say you're doing an air combo, and after your air combo gets finished, the enemy falls off, but you still want to do combos. You can now proc Fire, in which a way that now enemies can now stay in the air again, leaving you more time to perform another air combo. And for Blizzard took Fire's place, and I'll get into that later. So let's get into Thunder actually. So the Thunder is the third image right here, and Thunder is used to set up a combo instead of doing AoE damage. It still does AoE damage, no doubt, but it's much more smaller, and its damage has been completely nerfed. As you can see here, the AoE is not as strong, but now it's used as a combo startup. So let's say you want to start an air combo. You proc Thunder. The enemies will be launched up in the air. Now you can begin your air combos, and then you can also continue with the Fire spell moving forward. And that's what Thunder was made for. It is made for the combo startups, and Because both Fire and Thunder had a way to maintain the combos at close range, they needed a spell that kind of like closed off far range, which is what Blizzard was made for in this game. So it kind of took the Fire's place from Kingdom Hearts 1. So Blizzard now did now did a long range attack spell, and that was it. That's all it really did. It was not like a spell that you really needed. It's more of like a situational spell in case an enemy is super far and there's not much you can do now that a lot of these spells are close range. That is what Blizzard was meant for. It was meant to diversify out of Fire and Thunder and any of the other spells that came after it. But so far, I think that at that time in 2005, many games kind of had that combo potential. Like if you look at Devil May Cry, that game had a lot of combos, and because of that, and because like Final Fantasy wasn't able to fulfill that potential, they believe that Kingdom Hearts can be able to do that. But how can we do that with spells? And that was their goal in Kingdom Hearts 2. So their spells were more for the kind of combo aspect of Kingdom Hearts 2. Okay, so with the launch of Kingdom Hearts 3, most of the returning spells got reworked once more. So with Fire, it now has infinite range, but it now creates a large impact. Blizzard also has infinite range, but it now freezes and allows Sora to ride on the icicle that he shot, giving him new combo potential. Meanwhile, Thunder surprisingly got returned to its old state from Kingdom Hearts 1, so it's now just an AoE spell. And as you can see here, Fire shoots at a long range. It can detect enemies that is flying or that is farther from Sora. It now creates a larger impact from where it hits the enemies. With Blizzard, it now freezes the enemy, which kind of gives it a much more purpose in terms of its design. So Blizzard now freezes, and now you can ride on its icicle, giving you much more potential. As you can see here, Sora's riding the icicle, and he can leap on it, and he can do a much more powerful attack. And that is kind of what's set up for like the magic aspect of Sora in this game. And since these two spells had kind of like a single target aim, they needed like an AoE spell, which is why Thunder here, if you could look at this video, it plays out very similar to Kingdom Hearts 1. Thunder was meant for attacking enemies that are surrounding Sora, and although it does get rid of the spell's uniqueness from the second game, it was made to balance out new mechanics introduced in the third game, such as the enemies or like new gameplay aspects. Like Sora can ride on the wall. Sora has a focus bar now. Sora can summon more allies that do more damage, and because of that, some of these aspects already help him maintain such a good combo. So there's really no point in having spells that also keep him with maintaining these combos. So these spells have been reworked to give a much more utility aspect in the game. Like I mentioned earlier, Fire is more impact on enemies, Blizzard's more on freeze, and Thunder now electrifies the enemies, so it kind of leaves them in a kind of like a static effect for a while also doing AoE damage. And I believe that that's the identity I also want to keep in the Final Fantasy games, because after Kingdom Hearts 2, they also released many Final Fantasy games, such as like Advent Children, I think 10, 11, all those kind of iconic games. And because the magic worked a lot like what Kingdom Hearts 3 was made for, that's why I decided to make it like that. And overall, I think these games did a really good job on keeping its identity very slick, because it diversifies what these magic spells were meant for in each game. Like in 1, it was made for use like a gun system. In 2, it was more of like a combo startup, a combo startup, and in the third game, it was meant for kind of like a utility aspect. So I think these games did a very good job in diversifying the magic system. Alrighty, so another return spell that has made its way to all these 3 games is Cure. So if you remember in the slide that I mentioned about Final Fantasy, Kiraga was in Final Fantasy, and as you can see here, Kingdom Hearts has also introduced Cure into its game, and I'll be going over each of them. So Kingdom Hearts 1, Cure allowed the player to heal themselves, costing a few MP slots. So as you can see here, using heal can cost just one MP slot, but it can easily be recharged, and I'll get into that later. In Kingdom Hearts 2, however, Kingdom Hearts 2 reworked the Cure spell. So now, it heals the players, including allies, but will now consume your entire MP bar, preventing the player from using any more magic spells, and 2 regenerates. And as you can see here, when Sora uses a spell heal, he heals all of his allies, including himself, but you can see here his bar now turns purple, indicating that it has to recharge. And why did they do this? Alrighty, so let's get back to the MP recharge thing that I mentioned earlier. In Kingdom Hearts 1, you can easily recharge your MP just through doing combos to enemies. That's it. It's very easy. So because of this, and also because Cure did not cost that much MP slots, it was spammable. And because it was spammable, it made players like kind of immortal in a way. It kind of got rid of a lot of the challenges that the game was made for. Because let's say you're low health, well then you can just proc heal. If you're low health again, just proc heal again. You don't have to worry about your mana. And if you're out of mana, just hit like 3 hits, you get your mana, you heal again. That was the problem with Kingdom Hearts 1. And in order for Square Enix to balance out Cure, they had to give kind of like a risk for using Cure. So Cure now uses all of your MP bar, which now you can no longer spam it. So now there's more of like a challenge to play around with Cure. It should now be used every once in a while rather than just spamming it. And in addition, the MP bar did get reworked. So MP bar now has to recharge, and the recharge is like a timer now. You cannot recharge it through attacking enemies anymore. It's like usually like around a minute or so to recharge it all back, but even so, you have to wait a long time. And because you have to recharge, you're completely locked out of Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, and Cure. You're locked out of all of your magic spells, and that kind of gives players kind of like a challenge you have to play around. Because although Kingdom Hearts 2 prioritized combo potentials, they still needed a way to keep themselves alive, so they have to play around with like this kind of risk-making choices, and they have to play a lot more decisive in how they play with heal. And because it was much more balanced in Kingdom Hearts 2, they decided to retain that version of Cure in Kingdom Hearts 3, so the MP bar was the same. You had to wait until it recharges, and the Cure also just takes up your whole MP bar. So that was kind of the development of Cure from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2, and I believe that I wouldn't say it was great, because as a player myself it was frustrating. When you look back at the history, making these kind of choices has to be smart. And I believe that giving players a challenge, which is what a game is made for, makes sense, because what's a game with no challenge, right? And I believe they did a really good job in balancing out Cure. Alrighty, so, well, what's Final Fantasy without Disney, right? Well, Kingdom Hearts is known for its Disney worlds, including its Final Fantasy elements. But now we got over its Final Fantasy elements, so let's go over the Disney aspects of the game. So, in Kingdom Hearts, it gives the players the freedom to roam around iconic Disney worlds and interact with iconic Disney characters such as Ariel, Pinocchio, Elsa, Simba, and many more. So each world's plots usually revolve around the plot of the original source. For example, Ariel wants to see the outside world, Big Hero, or like Aladdin, he wants to marry Jasmine, etc. Some world places may take place after the original source, such as Big Hero 6. It took place after the first movie, so it's more of like a sequel. If you're always interested in Big Hero 6 too, Kingdom Hearts is for you. And just a little fun fact, Hercules' world has made its way into all 3 Kingdom Hearts games, and in addition, it is the only Disney world to include Final Fantasy characters. And yes, you heard what I just said. This game does have Final Fantasy characters, so if you ever go to Hercules in a Kingdom Hearts world, you will see Cloud or you will see Sephiroth. So that's kind of like the specialty of a lot of these Disney worlds. You're going to see a lot of these Disney characters interact with these Final Fantasy characters, but not to mention kind of interact with Sora and his friends while also kind of facing the big bad from like the original source. and I kind of give a lot of players a lot of fantasy because now you get to interact with all your favorite Disney characters. With the development of Kingdom Hearts 1, um, many open world games have been released since then, such as The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and The Witcher. And because these open world games have been successful, and not to mention with the installment of Final Fantasy 15, which gave players the ability to roam around the areas much more often, they believe that these games should also give these players the option to roam around these Disney worlds in a much more bigger expansion area for the Disney worlds. So let's say Kingdom Hearts 3, if you look at the world of Tangled, it's almost twice as big as all of the worlds from Kingdom Hearts 1. And I believe that that's what they were trying to fulfill with Tangled and all the other worlds from Kingdom Hearts 3. In addition, Kingdom Hearts 2 introduced the map system, allowing the players to roam around the world without getting lost. That was one of the biggest complaints from Kingdom Hearts 1. There was no map. The objective was very dim. It was not specific, so it was very easy to get lost. In Kingdom Hearts 1, you're mostly scrambling through the world, just interacting with anything you could to get answers out of them. That's how you kind of face the objectives in the first game. But 2, now you have a map. And with the map, you don't have to get lost anymore, and it kind of shows you the objectives now. So it makes it easier to look for where you need to go. And Nomura stated himself that the fans now have even higher expectations toward the original elements than before. And I think this is important to consider because I believe that Nomura was right, because with every game, it's kind of like it should be bigger than the last one. And with bigger, I mean bigger. In terms of the worlds, you look at let's say here Toy Story, it's very big compared to let's say Kingdom Hearts 1's Hercules, which was only like an arena at that time. And he wanted to fulfill that kind of feedback that he got from players and fans and how much they want to see much more things from the last game. Alrighty, so the last section is about Kingdom Hearts itself. And what is Kingdom Hearts exactly? But more importantly, like, what makes Kingdom Hearts, besides the Disney and the Final Fantasy elements? So the Kingdom Hearts story was made to be more than just a Final Fantasy X Disney game. We follow Sora's adventures, and it's clear that there's a goal that allows players to reflect on its themes. The game tackles on what it is meant to trust your heart, and by trusting those that are close to you, you can get where you need to be. It's all about the heart, which is in the name, and it's about friendships and making bonds with those that you cherish the most, and how by cherishing all those people, you can get to where you need to be. And since these games follow each other, it's easier to be invested into the lore, since Kingdom Hearts 2 took place right after the first game, and then same for 2 to 3. So that's what they did a good job with. And Nomura stated himself that when he was developing Kingdom Hearts 1, he said that at the time I was given advice from one of my seniors in the company not to make the story too simplistic, because Disney game, you can just assume it's simplistic, but he also thought that that kind of story of the development logic with lots of foreshadowing type scenes and mysteries was very much a characteristic of the Final Fantasy series, and this would also be a good kind of structure to use for Kingdom Hearts as well. Like I mentioned, he wanted to build a game with elements and structure from Final Fantasy, and he believed that having a story that was very meaningful to the players should also be in Kingdom Hearts. And he also goes on to state that as a story, I want to illustrate bonds. I want to show that the connections between people are not physical. Well, I think it was thoroughly incorporated. Even when separated, things that are connected will still be connected. That was the whole theme of Kingdom Hearts, and that was what he wanted out of Kingdom Hearts. Just by how no matter where you are, your bonds will always be strong. There will always be someone that will hold you inside their hearts. Outside of Disney worlds, Kingdom Hearts did have its own worlds too. So these worlds allowed Sora to roam around these worlds, exclusive to the Kingdom Hearts games. And these worlds are meant to reflect on the plot of the games and Sora's adventures. So they played a much more bigger role because they were all related to Sora's story and the plot of what Kingdom Hearts is about. Unlike Disney, if you go to, let's say, the Lion King's world, the plot's just about Simba wanting to be king. There's not much of Sora that he can learn out of it or reflect on it, outside of him just helping out his friends. In these worlds, they reflect a lot on his character arc. So for Destiny Island, this is where Sora grew up in, for example. In Hollow Bastion, this is where Sora goes on to face the good versus the evil of the heart, so light versus darkness, and he learns what it means to love from the heart. So these are just a few examples of what these Kingdom Hearts worlds are meant to be made for. Alrighty, so father-son bonding time. So because Kingdom Hearts was inspired by its predecessor franchise, Final Fantasy, it was structured very similarly in terms of combat. However, Kingdom Hearts was able to build upon its system while also being hack and slash, unlike the Final Fantasy system of turn-based RPG. And because of its idealistics of carrying out over the Final Fantasy elements while being real-time combat, while also having Disney characters in it too, Kingdom Hearts became very successful. It paved the way for future Final Fantasy games, which carried over this action-packed hack and slash system. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was built upon Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, they had the command board. Cloud can now move freely, he can attack freely, and their much more recent game right here includes this character from Final Fantasy 16. And in this game, you now get to move freely. It's no longer turn-based. It's all hack and slash with the command board, just like Kingdom Hearts. So you can say that the inspiration got inspiration itself, if you know what I mean. So let's just say TLDR, father got inspiration from the son got inspiration from the father. So like father, like son. Because many modern games such as Fortnite and Street Fighter all have action-packed elements, it has allowed Square Enix to adapt to the gaming environment, and because Kingdom Hearts was successful, it has paved the way for modern Final Fantasy games moving forward. And at the end of the day, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy continues to inspire each other. And Kingdom Hearts has built a strong fan base of its own, a community, one that's shared within the heart. You can see all these amazing cosplayers. It has built such an amazing fan base, so many people that has loved this game. In addition, it has made a lot of spin-off games like I mentioned right here. Lots of spin-off games to expand on the story of Kingdom Hearts outside of Sora. And we have a lot of speedrunners. These speedrunners are very meaningful to the community, and it just shows how much people are willing to put their time into this game. And not to mention, after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, many people asked for more Kingdom Hearts. And in 2022, they announced the development of Kingdom Hearts 4 with the gameplay trailer. There's no release date yet, but all we know is that the Kingdom Hearts franchise is not over yet, and it's still strong as ever. Because of what it's built from Final Fantasy, and just from Disney as well, and as well as the gaming media that has influenced its time, Kingdom Hearts still makes its way into the gaming industry, bringing lots of love from its community, its fans, its players from all over the world. And I want to take a moment to also reflect on this quote by Nomura. He says, "I want everybody I meet to remember me inside people's memories so I can live forever." That is kind of like what he wants to live for when it comes to making this game. And I think that that's also how he carried on to Kingdom Hearts. The plot revolved around, always never letting go of someone who's inside you. And because he also wanted that for himself, he was able to develop that for his characters. And at the end of the day, this game had a lot of meaningful relationships with these characters. And it also feels like Nomura was talking to us because of what he was trying to say to us with all these messages that he was sending into the game. So yeah, Nomura has made its way into helping Kingdom Hearts be what it is, and that's all I really have to say for this game. Honestly, this franchise means a lot to me. It means a lot to a lot of players, and it means a lot to the Final Fantasy community, Disney community, whatsoever. And I really hope that it still continues to make its way into much more audiences outside of the gaming industry. But for now, that is all I have to say for the history of Kingdom Hearts. Thank you for listening. May your heart be your guiding key.